we've got a pretty big day tomorrow. The inspector's coming, and we're going to get our substation energised, which will give us power to the top of our main switch. We're not quite ready to, you know, turn everything on just yet, but you know, it's getting on. So you know, we've got to start getting some boards on and all that fun stuff. Giving people with some permanent power. It means the lift guys can come in and start. They won't start until there's permanent power on the building. Fucking early frigid start today, boys. We're hooking up our power today, so stay tuned. That's the substation there, so we'll show you the inner to that soon. Pulled the maisies out. They're a pretty stealable item. A bigger one? How much bigger? I want the crack. Oh yeah. Put that in the video. Alright, the cunts need to come out and fucking unbolt this side. So the other side's a high voltage side. And I will show everyone a look, I guess, inside these things. So it's nothing too crazy. They're just breakers and big fucking lug terminals. Nothing real weird. Sponsor me, please. Yeah, so that fiberglass cover comes off and all the cables go up into this sub panel here. They all just go in, and this just gets buried with sand, and there's some hard plate cover that goes on top to so you know not to not to fucking drive an excavator here or anything and blow your fucking self up. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I'll turn this off anyway. It's in the off position now.
Yep.
I'll just tag it out, or I can isolate that, whatever you want.
Yeah, I reckon, just to be safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I mean,
And,
it's not going to hurt, is it? It's just a...
No, well, that's an isolation switch, so you can work on them.
Got to postpone this video, boys, because our level 2 guy didn't show up. His kid's crooked, so we had to shut it back up, and that's that. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Oh, hey everyone. We've had a doozy of a day here. Substation down there. So that's where our cables go. They're coiled up in that pit there. Anyway, we had a extremely low insulation resistance rating between earth and a one of the phases. So it was bad. We had it all here. Had it all bolted up here. This was the offending culprit. But we all bolted them together. We had to separate them all to identify which one was causing the problem. It ended up being this one. So yeah, it's a bit of a doozy of a problem. So we're getting like it's between 0.8 of a mega ohm and like 2. It sort of was floating around. So what was happening, our main earth, which is here, we disconnected that. We've got the earth stake installed down in the pit, and the last little bit, if you remember over there, there's a driveway across. So we've got some underground, like just some short underground conduit work there. We thought that the cable must have been damaged, and it's sitting in the conduits, which typically fill up with water, and that was what was giving us our low reading. Anyway, so we basically thought that the cable was fucked, but you know, you do the easy things first. So we went down to the sub. We just were retesting the cables, and we had like an extra, let's say about eight meters down there. Like we had all the excess down here because we could dial this end in pretty hot. We just had the cables here. So we did that. We chopped the end off and tested again, and lo and behold, that was the problem. So I'm going to take that piece of cable home and see if I can find out what the actual issue was. It's got to have like a pinprick or something. So we went down, chopped it, and we tested it from that end, and it cleared right out. So absolute, like, I was panicking, honestly. Like this, I mean, rerunning one of those cables, I mean, the cable alone is probably worth about 10 grand for one of the sets. Not one of the sets, one of the cables out of one of the sets, 10 grand. So yeah, I was not looking forward to having to do that. Anyway, I'll stop the video and start again because I had another issue on the switchboard. Right, so the next issue we had was, obviously we had an inspector booked. Like what you get an inspector to come and check. Like this is the one thing in New South Wales that actually gets inspected. And we've got our MEN link here that bolts on, you know, it bolts on there like that on the inside of this, obviously. There, you know, it ends up like that. Yeah, that's the only link between active and neutral only link between earth and neutral that you should have in a board like this. But we disconnected that, and we are getting continuity between our earth and our neutral, which we shouldn't be doing. That MEN link there is the thing that gives us our, you know, multiple earth neutral. So anyway, so what we did, it's a little while in our heads for a bit, but what we did, we split down here, this chassis, the neutral bar here goes into the back of the board and then across. So we split it here. That's just a piece of TPS insulation. So that's actually like electrically isolated from this part of the bar, and this bar cleared the earth, right? So we knew, because this is our non-essential side of the board, and then if you come over here, these are all the essential circuits, and we went down, we just disconnected one neutral at a time until we found the culprit, which was this one. So this circuit here goes to one of my distribution boards, and what's happened in that board is, if you've been watching the other vlogs, you'll know that I've got RCDs in the field, so I actually have circuit breakers on some of the boards. So there are neutrals on the neutral bar. Now in one of my rooms, it's a cardiac protected room, so the equipotential bond, there's a video, if I can work out how to do it, I'll stick it here. The equipotential bond, it's basically a full-on earth system for that room that's still connected to the earthing system of the building, but it's a standalone thing as well. And what was happening with that is that one of the neutrals in one of the sub-circuits must have been touching one of the medical services panels, which are bonded. Basically anything in there that's a neutral could have been touching an earthed panel, and that's given us like a fault. It's essentially, it is a fault at this point. None of the stuff is fit off, mind you, so it's completely fine. But when the inspector comes, he's going to disconnect the MEN link and say, "Oh, well, you've got a connection between the two," which, you know, I mean, if you can't explain it straight away, like he's going to go, "Oh, well, that's no good. Like there's something wrong with the board." Like pulling apart this switchboard, trying to find things. I've got a surge protection there. We disconnected all of that. We've got the ATS switch, which is the generator changeover switch. There's heaps of control in here that, you know, I was pulling fuses and trying to make sure that nothing was shorting out. There's cableways, and I was checking all these cables to make sure that nothing was sort of connected where it shouldn't. And I do have a test result from the board builder here. It's they call it a high potential test. They actually test the boards at 2,500 volts. So maximum we do is 1,000 volts with a mega, but they have a full-on next level tester, high voltage tester that tests these boards between neutral and earth, and they came back with infinite resistance. Yeah, so it's been a bit of a day, honestly. Bit of a full-on day. So it was a bit of a stress, especially that cable. I was so stressed about that because when we terminated the sets, we measured them and everything was fine, but they've poured concrete out the front on the ramp, and you know, stakes going into the ground, and we're thinking, oh fuck, the stakes pierced the neutral in that phase, and you know, you're fucked then, honestly. So especially with all the guys booked in today. Anyway, it turns out that the level 2 guy had a sick kid in hospital, so he couldn't show up. But yeah, anyway, so we've done all these checks and we're fucking definitely ready for next time now. But you know, I mean, you think you're prepared, and then the pressure hits on, and you're like, oh fuck, I needed to check this a little better. So it's always a learning experience. You fucking try and take away the little lessons every time, but it's what happens. Yeah, good, bro. I mean, you've technically already done this, right? Going through, but
What's the last test?
with Mr. Hikoki Koki.
Put them to your nipples.
Nipples! Got the Hikoki Koki. Now that there, that fucking huge chunk of copper, is the one I was having an issue with the other day. So long story short, I didn't film too much of it because I was absolutely having a panic attack about this. But this cable was getting I think the lowest we saw it was a 0.89 mega ohm reading, which obviously is fucking shit for a brand new cable set of consumer mains that we pulled in. So the situation was, this is in the ground out towards the substation. Obviously, a little bit of context with the rest of the video that if I do that. What I want to do is try and find out what the fuck was happening. So I'm going to hook this end up to the mega, and I'm just going to wander along the cable and see if I can find, there must be a pinprick or something in this cable. This part was probably in the dirt. It was potentially wet. So I'm just going to wander along, whack it on 1,000 volts, and just see if I can find anywhere on this cable that it's getting a little dip in a reading. I might have to wet the cable to help me out. But between the earth stake and this cable, I was getting 0.8 of a mega ohm. So it was completely open circuit with no, like on the resistance check, which is exactly how it's supposed to be. But when you sort of insulation resistance testing, you definitely need to put some voltage down the cable, pressure test the cables. Like if you don't really understand this sort of stuff, that's like a pressure test on a cable. So you need to apply pressure to find the weak points. So I'm going to try and do this. I'll fuck around with it for 15 minutes and see what I come up with, and I might film it a bit if I can find something. So, all right, bear with me. All right, well, look, I've fucked around this for about 10 minutes now. I gave the cable an extremely close inspection. I went over every inch of it that I could, and I was almost certain that there must have been a pinprick or something similar. And just for argument's sake, I just made a poke there with the Stanley knife. Okay, and I just wanted to see like how sensitive, I'll put this in the shot, how sensitive, sorry, we'll get there. Oh, it would help if you turn the fucking meter on, you idiot. Okay, so I mean a pinprick that's on 1,000 volts, right? So I've just been wandering over the cable, trying to cover as much as I can, and I'm looking for like basically this pinprick. You know, I was looking for that. Now initially, I actually had the thing on the table, and okay, so that's there on the table. So I touch the table, and I'm getting a reading through the actual plywood, which is fucking incredible. But I mean, that's how sensitive this thing is. So I was hoping that I'd wander around the cable and find something like this where it would pick up, you know. It's all over the place there. But I think I've got to be too close to the pinprick, so I could wander on this for fucking half an hour and still not pick something up. So I guess I'm not sure what the next step would be. Maybe I could submerge the whole cable in a bucket. Though I mean it's fucking big, man. Like I can wrap it up, like it is flex, but am I committed enough to put it in a fucking big bucket of water? I'm not sure I am. Because then I could drop the lead, one end of the lead in the bucket, the other end here, and if there's any contact, maybe that would... I'll give it a go. This is the janky bath test setup. We had deflection a moment ago. Yeah, there we go. Looks so.
A bit more there too.
It's moving around, but it's not the sort of short-circuity readings that we were getting. I can't really do this and film at the same time, but... Alright, so my cut, for instance, it should be there somewhere. So that's my cut in the water.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Okay, so put myself in the neck here. And we take the cut out. It clears out sort of. That's my Stanley blade. Yeah, so that's the reading. That's the reading that I was getting. Just below 1 mega ohm.
Right.
I know this is upside. It'll be upside down for everyone. I might flip it over, but. And that's in the clear. That's 5. So, well, that is technically the conclusion of this. Inconclusive. I'm not sure what the problem was. We just chopped them up into 3 separate lengths, just so I could put. I've tipped it out now, but so we could run it through the bucket a little easier, because it was very, very difficult. I even had to get the missus out to help hold on to the grounding end. Yeah, I can't understand. I don't actually know why we were getting the bad reading. Was connected to the earth stake again, and like once you start having earth stakes, like it gets real squirrely. So I'll leave this here, but obviously this video is sort of going to be part of a longer thing of getting the power onto the building. So yeah, I'll end this little segment here. I'm a little disappointed that I couldn't find something a little more conclusive. There were a few pinpricks where we were getting a low reading, but a lower reading. Let me see if I can. I'll pause it now. Yeah, so that there's a bit of a divot in the cable. It wasn't quite that bad. I did poke the probe into it, but it was It was getting I was getting a pretty average reading there, but nothing like the 0.08 that I saw at its worst. It was fluctuating between about 0.8 of a mega ohm and up to about 2, so it was floating around in that sort of zone, which is not a good zone to be for a fresh cable, even if it is sort of in the ground a little bit. Yeah, so that was probably the worst bit of damage on the cable that I found. And I had this big torch which pumps out like just an absolutely obscene amount of light. So it's very, very bright, especially when you're getting in there close. So yeah, again, I'm disappointed that I didn't find like a proper cut or penetration, and I'm not sure about my test, how accurate my test could have been. I mean, I could have added salt to the water and electrolyte to help its conductivity. But yeah, again, all right. So we'll can this video here, and I'll clip it when we're back with Endeavour. So I'll see you then. This isn't the same day or anything, but I just wanted to make a little clarification. Those problems that I had with the board, we had thoroughly tested everything leading up to, and up until maybe a week before the thing, I'd checked insulation resistance, all that jazz. I didn't have any of the MEN faults on the board. It's just a fucking shit bunch of circumstances. We had a lot of rain, and I'm not sure if I've recorded this yet, but we actually worked out what the problem was. The level 2 was pretty cluey. Level 2 electrician, he was pretty cluey with what was actually going on, and there's a solution that we need to incorporate into my next job, which is actually getting some heat shrink capping and putting on the end of the cables. Long story short, what he thinks was happening was the water was tracking into the cable, and I actually got some footage of that in the video that I'll put out whenever I get to it about hooking up the substation. And the water gets inside the insulation. Obviously the cables are sitting in the ground in there waiting to be connected. The insulation gets damp, and essentially just any sort of moisture dampness on the cable is going to create like an insulation resistance fault. So probably what we were getting, the cable internally was saturated, and then any sort of moisture, even like a slight amount of moisture on the outside of the cable, can track around and into the cable. So there's a lot of mud on the cables, there's a lot of different things. I don't have a real answer for it, but I mean, I'm not a complete negligent dickhead about not running jobs properly and not checking stuff before it needs to be checked, but I'm just a fucking dumbass trying to fucking do a job. So, you know, everyone makes silly mistakes, and I should have checked the day before and I didn't, so lesson learned. Yo, we are all ready to go back on. Back on? Go on. Maybe back because we're trying this a second go. So I've measured these, everything's fine. Good to know, because last time it was a little bit fucking weird. This is alright, but I've locked off the essential, so off this, off the mains here, the essential, no, it's not essential, it's the safety services, obviously, because it says it right there. But the safety services will be live when that is live, so I've got to lock them off. And then I've locked off the essential services, which locks all of those MCCBs off. And then I've locked the non-safety services, which is all of these breakers here. All right, so I didn't have to lock them all off individually. Once we start, once we got the power on, the process will be I'm going to lock every single breaker off. We can turn on the individual parts of the chassis, bus bars, whatever you call it. We can turn each side of it on, and then I'll have a lock on every single board until I've given it the okay, done all the appropriate tests, checked everything, and then we can start turning the boards on. From there, it's the same process. Every single circuit's going to get locked off until it's tested and ready to power up. I'm going to have a big day tomorrow. I should get some a good bit of some good videos of us hooking up the sub, and yeah, it'll be pretty good. So tomorrow, looking forward to it. We're going to have an early start, early finish. It's Friday, going for some beers afterwards. So if everything goes well, which I can't see why it won't now, if everything goes well, I'll see you then. There's a metal joke here about opening up a pit. It's pretty good. Got to do what you got to do to warm up in the early mornings, 10 degrees. Nice. Awesome. I'll get one more drip because
I'll see what's coming. Here we go.
Yep, there it is. Alright, we've got all the shit out on site here. We're drilling the logs. Got these all drilled out, so they're double studs to suit the bottom of that breaker there. It's about 32-33 mil spacing. Drill them on the pad over there with the clamps because copper's really horrible and it grabs real bad, and then I've just reamed it to smooth them up. It's real hot when you drill it as well, so copper work hardens. It's just something to be aware of. But yeah, we'll get in the pit here soon and just start lugging them off and bolting them up, and then we can just wait for the inspector and get the power on. So yeah, it'd be fucking nice to have the power on here, and I'll show you all the bits and pieces, the paperwork. Well, I can't really show you the paperwork, but just some of what we need with the paperwork. You need that that tag over there saying the main switchboard, where the main switchboard is. If the builder wants to pull that off after we go, that's up to him. So yeah, the big boy crimper on site, the cutters over there, and yeah, we just got to trim these to length, double check that everything's the right phase, and we're Gucci.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good.
Well, because you're a nurse taking the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All the same?
Yeah.
Okay, you can do. Next second. Fine. Same.
Lovely.
Huh? Oh,
Aaron had a video.
fucking little pull.
Is Jake going to get lunch?
I'm gonna.
I'm not.
Brought my sack of goodies here. You can go get lunch. You're not fucking doing anything anyway.
Yeah, well, I've got no problem. Do you want to ask the boys in the group chat if they need me? Or do I have to go on tour?
Fucking done a good job then, they don't know why I'm here.
Just call Jake and get him to go and ask everyone.
His phone goes through.
Huh?
He must be on his phone.
That's all myself, give me. You apprentice eye on the phones constantly.
Well, can't you do lunches or what? Alright, well, I'm going to have a day, so come on, ask me completely.
Doesn't look too bad, mate.
I think it looks good.
Very good. Once we're FT talk to spec. Our talk spec is FT.
Correct.
Boom.
And that's all it allows us to do.
So does the energy provider turn this on, or are we good to go once we've...
No, he'll come and turn them on. I've got sockets here. I've got a socket here, Andrew.
Oh, is it the right one?
Oh, it doesn't have the clicky thing, but I can make the clicky noise if you want.
Oh, so that's just the right side. It's the right side for the ball, so I'm asking.
Yep.
Get on it then.
Do them loop tight or?
Oh, we have to rip them up, but we want to be tight.
You haven't snapped any?
Yeah, what? No, I haven't. I don't do it inside. I'm just doing up to what I think's enough for that bolt. They're doing up to enough. They're not coming on that.
Start without a rattle gun, you got no dagger daggers.
Doug. I get out.
What's the what's the
Paperwork, I'm pretty sure.
is it?
Yeah.
That's confusing, isn't it?
I get out that one.
I haven't done it yet, no, it has to be done. And there's a spanner on the back there.
I'll give you that.
Well, there's light parts in there. Upload it anyway. If you want, take that side door off and see if you can reach in.
I'll go to that.
You all over it?
Oh Jesus, Dave. Careful,
Yeah.
careful.
Yep.
Didn't even flinch, mate.
What are you supposed to say?
Yeah, that's it.
Alright, so we can just gonna test it. I'll put some tags on it for testing.
Got to be symmetrical, eh?
Hang on the other end, I'm assuming at the other end, no, it's bad to assume, but it's
Assimilated?
is the buzzer down? The and the end's out?
No, the MEN's in. But we can go take that.
This shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't. I've got to do all that. This should be 6 gig. 6 gig. Boop. That's 6 gig.
Nice.
Yeah.
60 games. That's a lot of old.
Gigaflops. 6 gigaflops.
I'm going to measure in between. Is there any reason I can't?
No, go ahead.
Okay. That's an open giga. That's an open giga.
Loading effect takes for ages on these things, huh?
Look at that, that's like a million ohms resistance.
A bazillion million ohms.
Standing up one, yeah, that's good.
So earth to white, we didn't have any.
I've done earth fit because the end's at the other end.
Right down.
It doesn't really matter because it's on the bars.
Yeah, cool.
Just going to go to ground.
And the cover's back on, and we're just waiting for the inspector. Easy. Ta-da. That's what we want to hear. Yeah, no sizzles.
Get back, mate. Says I've done it.
Woo! Easy. That was anticlimactic. So the puzzle putting this shit in the ground, so cunts like this don't blow it up. Yay! Waka paka!
Oh man, they always fucking miss that.
Come on, put your back into it, Lee.
Jake, tell him to come back and get the car cover cut.
I'll tag him. Jake, get back here, mate.